If you've used ChatGPT or Claude to write anything in the last year, there's a good chance you've hit a ceiling. You optimize the prompt, you switch tools, and the output still feels average. That's not a tool problem. It's a structural one, and almost nobody talks about it. Over the next several minutes, I'm going to show you the actual workflow professional agencies use, the one that turns a 5% productivity bump into a 500% one. No hype, just the mechanics. Let's get into it. Here's what most people get wrong. They spend their energy tuning prompts, comparing ChatGPT to Claude to copy.ai, chasing the next model release. All of that effort aimed at the wrong target. The bottleneck was never the model, it's the workflow around it. Watch how people who actually get outsized results from AI operate. They don't open a chat window and start typing. They move through 4 distinct stages. Stage 1, planning. Before any prompt gets written, they define the audience, the goal, and what success actually looks like. Stage 2, generation. Only now does AI enter the picture, drafting from that plan. Stage 3, refinement. The draft gets edited, restructured, tightened. Stage 4, integration. The finished piece gets pushed into the systems where it actually creates value: the email sequence, the content calendar, the client deliverable. Most people stop at stage 2. They generate something, glance at it, and call it done. That's the entire gap between 5% and 500. Let me give you a real example. A 2-person startup, a founder, and 1 content lead was competing against agencies with over 100 employees. What closed that gap wasn't a better model. It was discipline in the workflow. The founder spent 1 hour a week on planning. Audience, tone, distribution, what a win looked like. The content lead used AI to draft against that plan, not against a blank page. They refined, published, and repeated it. 6 months in, they were outranking agencies 20 times their size, using the exact same AI tools everyone else had access to. The difference was never access. It was architecture. So now that you have the architecture, the next question is how you make the second stage, generation, actually reliable. How do you write a prompt that comes back production ready on the first try, not the 5th? Most prompts fail for one reason. They're generic. You ask for a blog post, you get a blog post that 1,000 other people could have generated with the same 5 words. The variable that actually separates forgettable output from usable output is specificity, and it breaks down into 4 components. Component 1, audience definition, not marketing professionals. Try this instead. Marketing managers at B2B SaaS companies with 50 to 500 employees, comfortable with HubSpot, unfamiliar with advanced automation. Component 2, tone mapping, not friendly. Try conversational but credible, like a senior colleague explaining something to a smart junior hire. Second person throughout, 1 analogy per section, never 2. Component 3, context layering. Don't just hand over the task. Explain what it's for, what came before it, what happens after it ships, and what success looks like numerically if possible. Component 4, constraint setting. Not around 2,000 words. Try exactly 2,000 words. A hook of no more than 2 sentences, 3 sections of 600 words each opening with a numbered claim. Put those 4 together, and the output changes categorically, not incrementally. Here's the difference in practice. Generic prompt, write a blog post about productivity. Specific prompt, write for marketing managers frustrated by productivity tools that demand constant retraining. Tone skeptical but ultimately hopeful, open with a surprising adoption. Failure statistic, cover 3 reasons. Legacy tools fail. Close with 3 emerging alternatives and where each one fits. 2,000 words, 5 linked sources. One of those prompts produces filler. The other produces something you could publish today. Most people stop right here, satisfied with a better prompt. But a better prompt is only half the system. Here's the part that actually multiplies the return. A standalone AI tool is overhead. You're tabbing between apps, copying, reformatting, losing momentum every single time. The value shows up when AI stops being a tool you open and becomes a layer you don't notice. There are 4 practical ways to build that layer. First, automation platforms like Zapier. Content gets generated, automatically saved to a doc, automatically routed to a reviewer, with 0 manual handoffs. Second, native integrations. Google Docs, Microsoft Word, and Slack all have AI built directly into the surface you already use, so there's no context switch at all. Third, direct API access. If you or your team can write code, you build the exact tool your workflow needs instead of adapting your workflow to someone else's product. Fourth, and most overlooked, team-level workflows. Stop optimizing for one person. Split planning, generation, and refinement across roles, and AI compounds the output of the whole team, not just whoever's logged in. Here's what that looks like end-to-end. A note gets tagged in Evernote. That tag triggers a zap. The zap sends the content to an AI model for a first pass. The result lands in a shared doc. The team gets a Slack notification. Nobody touched a single app manually. That pipeline is the actual unlock, not the model underneath it. Now let's talk about what that's worth in real numbers, because this is where it stops being theoretical. A freelancer billing $50 an hour, spending 2 hours per piece, is paying a $100 labor cost per post. Compress that same output to planning, generation, and refinement inside a real workflow, and you're closer to 75 minutes. At 5 posts a month, that's roughly $750 back monthly. $9,000 a year for one person doing one thing differently. Scale that workflow across a team, and the multiple isn't linear. It compounds. If you're freelance, the math is simple. More usable output means more clients or higher rates without more hours. Take on one additional client at $1,000 a month using time you already have, and that's $12,000 a year, with a payback window under 6 months on most AI subscriptions. If you run an agency, the math shifts entirely, because your largest cost is people, not software. A single writer runs $50,000 to $80,000 a year. Pair one writer with a real AI workflow, and they can credibly cover the output of 3. A 5-person writing team at $70,000 each is $350,000 in payroll. The same output with 2 people using the workflow runs closer to $140,000. That's $210,000 back, or the same budget producing 3 times the volume. This isn't a hunch. McKinsey's 2024 research on knowledge workers found 30 to 40% average productivity gains from AI tools alone. But organizations that also rebuilt their workflow architecture reported 300 to 500% gains on the same underlying models. The lesson there is specific. The AI was never the constraint. The system around it was. A few real examples. One agency went from 12 client proposals a week to 45. Same team, same standards. One technical writing group tripled annual documentation output with fewer writers, not more. One solo creator went from 1 video a week to 3, each one longer and better retained than the last. None of that came from a smarter model. It came from treating AI as a system, not a tool. And that's exactly where I want to bring you in. So tell me, what's the one task in your work that eats the most time right now? Proposals, client emails, documentation, whatever it is, put it in the comments and I'll build the next video around solving that specific bottleneck. If this was useful, the 2 things that actually help the channel are alike, because YouTube weights that heavily, and a subscribe, because this series continues weekly with the exact prompts and workflows agencies are using right now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.